I bet you thought that thumbnail was pure clickbait, but don't ever let it be said that I don't keep my promises. Hi, I'm Scott Coffin. Welcome back to my digital art YouTube channel. Don't be alarmed by the blank canvas on your screen. We're doing something a little bit different this week. What's that you say? You find that blank canvas very alarming? Here, let me fix that for you. There, that's much better. Anyway, as I said, this week we're going to do something just a little bit different. Rather than having a speed paint running in the background while I talk to you, I'm actually going to demonstrate some stuff. And this week we're going to talk about one of the most exciting topics in all of digital art, how to draw a line. I know you probably think that I'm joking, but I promise I'm being totally serious. I've got some really cool stuff to show you, so stick around for a while. I bet you'll be glad you did. The humble line is a design element that most artists take for granted, but it's a part of just about everything we create, and just a little tiny bit of variation can change a lot about a piece that you're working on. So, to get started, let me zoom my canvas out here, and let's start with a basic line work. What we have here is a simple sketch of Daphne from Scooby-Doo, and I apologize if it's not my absolute best work, but when I say simple sketch, I do mean simple sketch. I didn't have a whole heck of a lot of time to throw this together, and as you'll see in a few minutes, there's going to be a whole bunch of different variations on this simple sketch. That said, let's take a look at what we have here. In terms of how the lines are used in this piece, there's one thing that should really jump at you. All the lines are exactly the same thickness, and I do mean exactly the same thickness. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. This is a style of line work that's used in many popular styles, and it's especially prevalent in things like video games and animation, specifically because of its simplicity. The simple line work makes it a lot easier to duplicate the same image over and over again and not have to worry about complicated details. But that said, that same simplicity in line work can also make it really difficult to communicate things like weight and dimension. As if, for instance, if I grab my pen and an empty layer up here, there's certain things that I want to draw attention to. Things like this area right here, where the hairlines overlap. Now obviously, you can kind of figure out for yourself that yes, that is in fact an overlap in the hair. But it's not especially obvious with thinner line work like this. And when you look at the overlaps up here in the bangs, these could just as easily be mistakes in the line work. Are they mistakes? Are they intentional overlaps? You can guess, but you can't really tell with the way that this is set up. So let me go ahead and clear off this layer here, and let's change something. We're going to make one very particular change to this line work. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to put a different version up right next to it. Now this particular version of the line work is actually my natural drawing style, more or less. Again, a little scratchy and rough because I didn't have a lot of time to throw this together, but pretty close to the way that I typically draw things. And the only difference between these two drawings is that I've added some variety in line weight. It's the exact same sketch, just with more varied line weight. As if, for instance, if I come back up here, we can look at things like the hair having one line weight, while the chin and the neck and the face have a different line weight, and the shoulders have a different line weight, and the clothing has a different line weight. We're communicating a few things with this. We're communicating dimension. Notice how the face tends to pop up a little bit more from the body and the neck. We're also communicating weight and volume. The hair is a little bit thinner because it's a little less heavy. The scarf is even more thin because it's even more or less heavy. Likewise, if we look here at the lines for the irises of the eyes, they're very thin because they're translucent. This pretty clearly demonstrates how something as simple as varying the weight of your lines can help to demonstrate things like weight and dimension, but it also clarifies things as well. So let me go ahead and clear this layer off up here. And then where I want to draw your attention this time is again to these overlaps that we have in the hair. Notice how they taper off at the top and get thicker as they go down, making it more clear that they are in fact intended to be overlaps and not mistakes in line work. The point that I'm trying to make here is just the addition of something as simple as varied line weight gives you so many more tools you can communicate with. But that said, there is a such thing as too much of a good thing. So let me go ahead and clear this layer off again. And then I'm going to swap out the version on the right for a slightly altered version of that same piece. For this example, I'd like to draw your attention to the border of the image. What you'll notice if you look closely is that I've drawn an extra thick border around the character, much thicker than all the rest of the lines in the piece. This is doing something a little bit different rather than communicating weight and volume. This border is meant to help the character pop out from the background. It also has the added quality of giving the art a little bit more of a cartoony or graffiti-like feel. This is also commonly used with people who make stickers, as it makes it a little bit easier to get a clean cut on a sticker. That said, you'll also notice that's the only place I've put that extra thick, extra heavy line. I've even avoided little details like the overlaps here that get noticeably thinner right inside, as well as the borders of the hair here, which would pop out and have a similar dimension to the outline of the head. But again, this particular outline isn't meant to communicate weight or volume. Quite the point, if I were to make those lines just as thick as the outline, all of a sudden the image would become really, really muddy, and it would have a lot of the same problems that the thin one on the left actually does. At the end of the day, the key takeaway when it comes to line weight is to aim for variety. That said, that gives us some ideas of how we can really change up a piece just by varying the weight of our lines, but what if we varied the color of the lines instead? Let me start by going ahead and clearing out that layer again and making the line work disappear. You see, for our next step, we're going to have to work in color. Now, looking at the initial piece here, there's nothing special other than the fact that it's in color. I'm using the weighted line work from the second example that I gave you guys because, again, that's my natural style, and I've done some simple colors and some simple lighting and shading on this piece. Nothing too crazy. Overall, it's a solid color sketch. It's pretty good, but it can be better. But before we can make it better, we need to understand a simple concept called a color hold. You might often hear digital artists talk about coloring their line work instead of leaving the lines black. The technical term for this is a color hold, and it has some really neat uses. In order to demonstrate this for you, let me start by coloring the lines of the hair, just like this. In this new version, you'll notice that the lines of the hair are now a darker shade of orange than the hair itself, while all the other lines of the piece remain black. This has a really cool effect of making the hair look softer than the other parts of the character. Now, we can take that another step, because here's the thing. The hair should be softer than everything else, but the clothing should be softer than the body as well. So, let's go one step further, and let's give color holds to the eyes and the scarf and the blouse and the headband. And now all of a sudden, the character's face pops out more and has more weight to it than the hair or the clothing or even the eyes do. We haven't changed anything about the weight of the lines themselves, just the color of the lines, and all of a sudden certain parts of the image feel softer. That said, just as with line weight, color holds can be taken just a little bit too far if you're not careful. Let's do one more version of this image where all of the lines have color holds. And now this doesn't look too bad. It's a stylistic choice, but all of the benefit that we got from adding weight and softness by changing the color of the lines is lost. There is a trade-off here. Because all of the lines now appear soft, the character has an overall more ethereal look. And in addition, the one thing that I didn't give color to, because they're the color that they should be, are the eyelashes and the eyeliner, which does have the added benefit of drawing the focus to the eyes of the face. So it's a stylistic choice. For some people this might be a little too much, but for some people it might be just right. So there you have it. That's my little spiel on how you can enhance your artwork just by changing a few things about the way you use lines. Let me know in the comments down below if you found this helpful and if you like this new video format or if you prefer the way I've done things the last few weeks. I'm changing things up a little bit here and there and trying new things, so if you really like something particular that I do, let me know so I can do more of it. If you found this content helpful, make sure to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share with your friends. It helps me out a lot. But until next time, thanks for watching.